Am I required to make estimated tax payments? Hi, my name is Keith Hall. I'm a CPA and the National Tax Advisor for the American Independent Business Coalition. Now, for many of you, this may be a surprising answer, but no, you're not really required to make quarterly estimated tax payments. Nobody's going to send you a bill. The IRS is not going to call you on the phone. You're not going to get a late notice. But I say that tongue in cheek because even though you're not required to, if you don't, it's going to cost you. So certainly you should make the quarterly estimated tax payments that the IRS requires for you to make, or it really just turns into a very expensive loan from the last person you want to borrow money from, which is the IRS. So the real question is, how much should your quarterly estimated tax payments be? The answer for that is you should pay in the very minimum amount that you have to avoid any underpayment penalties. You don't want to send money to the IRS any faster than you have to, because then they have the money rather than that money being in your savings account. So try to figure out the least possible amount to send in. Now, the IRS gives us a couple of safe harbors, or get out of jail free cards, if you will, on calculating that minimum amount. The first one is that if you pay in at least your total tax from last year, then you'll have no underpayment penalties. So for example, if your total tax last year on your return, not just the amount you wrote a check for, but the total tax was $10,000, and if you schedule your quarterly estimated tax payments at $2,500 each, so by the end of the year you will have paid in $10,000, exactly the amount from last year, then no matter how much you make, you'll have no underpayment penalties. So that's an easy way to estimate what those payments should be. Now, if you do have increased earnings, lots of earnings for the new year, then you're going to need to write a check on April 15th. So there's a little bit of discipline involved in maintaining that calculation. But that's a way to guarantee you'll have no underpayment penalties. So that's a great strategy for estimating those quarterly payments in years that you expect earnings to be higher. Now, the second safe harbor is that if you pay in at least 90% of the total tax that you end up owing, then you'll have no penalties and no interest. Now, that's a little more difficult because you don't know what that number is going to be. So you need to take out a pencil, a piece of paper, your calculator, last year's tax return to use as a guide, and then do some estimates. Kind of do a pretend tax return for the whole year. Then you'll see what you expect to pay in tax, divide that number by 4, and that'll be the basis for your quarterly estimated tax payments. Now, if you use that method, don't just put that paper in a drawer and forget about it. Pull it out a couple of times during the year, after June 30th, for example, maybe September 15th, and kind of re-up your guesses. So things may change. You'll know more about how the year is going, what your earnings are going to look like. Then you can adjust the remaining estimated tax payments to make sure you hit that 90%. Now, that's the strategy to use in years that you expect your earnings to be lower, so that by paying in last year's tax, you won't have overpaid the tax. So now we have a strategy for estimating your tax payments for years of growth and for years of decline. So one of those two methods will put you in a good position of making sure you avoid all those penalties and interest. Now keep in mind that estimated tax payment requirement is based on your overall tax return, not just the business part. So if you have another W-2 job or your spouse has a regular W-2 job, don't forget that there are withholdings and income related to those other jobs as well. So that overall requirement, the application of those two safe harbors, are based on the overall tax return. Now, if you've got specific questions, our tax professionals are here to answer those specific questions. Just click the link and one of our tax professionals will get back to you by the next business day. We've also got other videos to help you with questions, as well as frequently asked questions from other members to help you along the way. So remember, if you've got questions, we've got the answers. Thank you.